There's way more information than you could ever get from any sort of a conventional system. Even one of the big rotaries that has a lot of information, they still don't have things like milk speed. They're still missing quite a bit of information that allows me to breed a better cow.
Hello and welcome to the Dairy Experience podcast. I'm your host, Rick Major. In this episode, we have a chat with Joe Crack from Southern Star Farms. The farm is located near Invercargill on the south part of New Zealand. Southern Star Farms is 456 hectares, where they run a herd of around 350 to 370 jerseys. The jerseys are being milked by 4 Lely Astronaut A5 milking robots in a grazing setup with a wintering barn to protect the cows and paddocks from extreme weather. Joe, what else can you tell me about the farm and its history?
Well, we started off with a small dairy farm further out the road. It was a conventional farm, milking up to 400 cows, had an old herringbone in it. We learnt pretty quick that we liked dairy farming, we liked the cows, but we didn't actually like employing people. And when we saw the robots in action, we thought that the cows will just love that. And they do. So there's nothing worse than having to sell pretty good cows that maybe are surplus to go off to a life in a herringbone. And in terms of the cow numbers, because we have a split herd, about a third of them calve around February and the other 2/3 calve from about the 1st of August. We only have short windows, usually no more than about 7 weeks calving each time. Yeah, so the farm is on a peaty base, so we tend to not have too much mud down here. The animals generally stay above it. We put a barn on nearly 4 years ago, and we use that for wintering, and also the winter milkers go in there when the weather's not very good, which does happen reasonably frequently down here.
And now word goes around that you're also in the cow breeding field. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How did that come to be?
I've been trying to breed a cow that's suited to my system because I found that a lot of the sires in the overseas catalogues, which is mostly where I have been getting straws from, they might say they're robot ready, but they're not actually. So I found that I have a lot of input, a lot of information put into my Lely Horizon, so I can follow how sires go, how dams go. I can monitor milk speed. It gives me a lot of culling information, but it also gives me a lot of information to see my best cow families. And so the last few years I've actually been keeping bulls from those families. And so the resulting progeny, there's no surprises with them. They milk exactly as I expect them to, and generally better than anything I get out of the sire catalogues.
So the robots and Lely Horizon actually help you in making decisions on which cows to use,
yes,
and which cows to keep the bulls from to start the breeding.
Yes, there's way more information than you could ever get from any sort of a conventional system. Even one of the big rotaries that has a lot of information, they still don't have things like milk speed. They're still missing quite a bit of information that allows me to breed a better cow.
Was this always the plan?
I always wanted to have a pretty good Jersey herd, but it makes it easier to do it.
Yeah. And it's just one of these things that just seems to come together, and it appears to work. Right. Yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit to the beginning of this transformation, of your farm.
Yep.
What was the original driving force behind choosing robotics? If it wasn't the breeding, what was the original force behind it?
Well, we wanted to sell the existing old dairy farm, and this farm we have quite a lot of sheep on here as well, 2,000 ewes as well. And so we just converted the top of it, and we wanted to bring the cows home. So, yeah. And we didn't want to be putting a herringbone or a rotary on, and we didn't really want to be in that day-to-day grind of putting cups on. So, yeah, robots was just the logical option.
And then you also mentioned just now that you didn't want to employ people to do it.
No, we don't. No.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can just do most everything myself. When the big jobs are on, calving, I do need help to get cows and calves out of the barn and stuff like that.
So who else is involved in the in the farm at the moment?
Well, mostly just me, but when we're training heifers, my husband Darren comes down and we train them in the morning and at night. So that's probably the main time there's other people here.
That's impressive. For anyone that listening now, can you paint a picture of how the farm is laying out so we can get a little bit of a visual?
So the sheep area is at the bottom of the farm and the dairy unit is at the top, so furthest away from Waituna Lagoon. The other thing we do here is we raise virtually all the calves. So either the Jersey cows are having a good enough heifer to be a replacement or they're having a Jersey bull. And so we raise the Jersey bulls and sell them as yearlings and 2-year-olds. And I have a few black cows, crossbreds getting around. So they mostly just breed beef. And so we raise the beef out and take them through to about 2.5-year-old. We also do all our own work, so all cultivation, digging, everything. Right down to muck spreading, so that keeps people amused as well.
That's a lot, a lot of variety, I would say.
Yeah, and so with having the second generation on the farm, daughter Kimberly, daughter-in-law Annabelle, one of those is usually the main person that steps up if I'm away, and they can just walk in and run it. And the interesting thing with them is that they didn't actually need any training; they could just walk in and. The system is pretty easy to follow. I leave a list on the wall and
that's what they do, yeah.
Yeah, and if they have a question, they just ring me. But mostly, they can just operate it easily.
So I'm trying to paint a picture of how a typical day in the life of a robotic dairy farmer, if I must say, looks like. Can you help me to paint this picture?
Well, in the season, I usually don't have to start too early unless we're doing AI, but so on a normal day, I'm down here by 9 a.m, and that's mostly because that's when I have the wash going through. So I change a filter before the wash. I'll check on the computer, see if there's anything I need to look at. But I'll usually just go and do 2 breaks. The system here is 4-way grazing, so A, B, C, D, and they spend 6 hours in each break. So there'll be 2 breaks that I'll check to make sure there's no cows and do a new break. And then that frees me up to do whatever else I have to do, feeding calves or whatever. And then I'll be back up here last thing, sort of 5 o'clock. I'll change the filter again, wash down. And I might have washed down earlier in the day as well, depending on how tidy or untidy it is.
And we were here back in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
I'll remember a quote when I read it, and I'll quote you on this. If we hadn't put in the robots, we wouldn't be dairying right now. Robots has given us freedom and taken the stress away. And looking at your life today, how do you feel about that statement now?
No, still correct. Yeah, it's still correct.
And also in the article we spoke in 2024, you mentioned that you still had plenty of room for improvement without actually increasing your herd size. Can you explain on what you optimized on your farm over the last 2 years?
Probably haven't really, because I've had the cow numbers up with a view to buying another farm.
Yeah.
So, but every year the production has increased. It's gone up every year. And I just think if I've got some cows can do 800-900 solids, why can't all of them?
And then coming back on, where you saw room for improvement, and then eventually it happens that you could buy another farm, and then that just happens, and you think like, let's go that path, let's go do that. Where do you see the future going for this farm?
In terms of the virtual fencing, I can see benefits in that. It'll be quite good to have them so that they can, a couple of options. You could be doing more of a batch milking group system, which would limit the amount of walking the cows do. Here they do probably more walking than on a conventional farm. And then it would also, instead of just having 4 breaks of grass a day, they can essentially have 8 or more. You could just be shifting that fence from your house pretty easily.
Were there any problems you were encountering in the startup phase?
No, not really, although we started with 3-way grazing.
Yeah.
And so I definitely would recommend 4-way grazing because essentially if you're going to do 3-way grazing, if those cows are only going to be trafficking that amount of times, then you're actually aiming for 16-hour milkings, and you really want at least twice a day milking, if not 2.5 to 3 times. So to do that, you've really got to be going 4 ways in a grazing system. And the other thing I think is important is that each of your areas is even. So mine goes 6 airs to each break. If you go like 6 to one, 10 to another, and you're all over the place, then your cow flow is going to be all over the place, and you're going to end up with big numbers of cows coming in because they've just been hanging around in that paddock too long.
Yeah, and you want them more spread out.
You want them spread right across that 24-hour period. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Then my last question for you. If there's a dairy farmer listening right now who's genuinely on the fence about robotic milking, what's your one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Go and look at plenty of robot farms, see what they're doing, because everybody runs their farm differently. When you start out with robots, Lely does essentially set you up, get you organised, and then you can just tinker with how you want to operate it. And like there's huge variety there, and I don't think any two farmers that have been going for more than a year actually operate their farm the same way. Your robots are probably extra good for multi-generational farms where there's some older guys still able to do a bit of work and young people wanting to come in. And, you know, if there's generations wanting to be milking cows without the slog of day-to-day conventional system, then you can't get better than robots.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us on the Dairy Experience podcast to share your story. I think people would learn a lot from you and what you've done. And I see you nodding no, but I think yes.
Maybe. No problem.